Well, hello and welcome to Click Spotlight. And Click Spotlight today, I have the very great pleasure. Now, I'm going to pronounce your second name wrong. I know I am. Vanja Tufvesson?
That's right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
that's the first. That's first. Welcome, Vanja. We've just been through a presentation that you did on diversity. A very important subject, something that's very important to Click as well. For those people here that haven't, who don't know who you are, and they want to know a little bit more about you and why you're here, just give a brief description of your career journey.
Yeah. So I've worked as a developer for around 8 years. Being quite used to being the only woman in the team. And today I'm working with an unbiased interview robot for recruitment.
Right. Oh, okay.
So I'm very passionate about this field.
Yeah.
But also about 4.5 years ago, I started what is now Sweden's largest community for female developers, together with 2 other.
Excellent. So is that the Pink Programming Initiative?
Pink Programming, yeah.
So what's that all about then? And actually, what gave you that impetus to do that? Was there one thing in particular that thought, wow, we need to sort this? Or was it just generally?
So we never realized back then that it was going to lead to being a big organization. We wanted to do something fun for to promote women, basically, to make women interested in programming. So 2 friends and I decided to host a programming camp for women here in the south part of Sweden. And then the interest for the camp was so big that we, after the camp, decided that we needed to make something out of it. And
I think the idea was over a couple of glasses of wine, I think you were saying.
That's right, yeah.
Like a lot of brilliant ideas are.
Exactly.
So you started doing that, and you obviously noticed that there was because you were oversubscribed, weren't you? You had too many people wanting to go on that.
Yeah. So the camp got fully booked in a week.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
amazing.
That's amazing, especially if you can imagine that we were such amateurs. We had been working as developers for maybe 2 years at the time, and we had no idea about how to create a programming course.
Yeah.
But still, we had actually over 100 people on the waiting list for a spot at the camp.
That's incredible. A little bit frightening, I expect, as well.
Yeah, of course it was, but we had no time to be scared. We just had to sort everything out and prep for the camp.
Excellent. So you actually worked at Click for a while, didn't you? You were it was part of your university course. What was that? And how many years ago was that? And what was that like?
Yeah, that was back in 2013 and 2014. I did my summer job here at Click.
The best place to be in Lund, isn't it? I think during the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very happy about my job here, working with bug fixing for ClickView. And like I mentioned in the presentation, I love the name Sustainable Engineering for the department. Felt a lot cooler to say than bug fixing. And I also continued to do my master's thesis here at Click. Right. And I actually had very good experiences here. Yeah. I mean, back then, I realized when I joined that I was one of the very few female developers. So even if everybody treated me very nicely, of course, it made me a bit insecure.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Thinking that, what is everyone else thinking? Are they questioning my competence? But I was always treated with respect, and also my manager really made me feel that I added a lot of value.
Do you think that can be an issue then, trying too hard?
Absolutely. Yeah. To trying to prove that you are worthy of your spot. Even if no one has questioned it, it might be all these demons in your own head. Yeah.
Yeah, because I spoke about, I'm on a course at the moment on unconscious bias, and you spoke about all those demons that are there, and sometimes you're just not aware of that, aren't you? And it can be, was it imposter syndrome is another one that you hear of, where people join and feel, either I'm part of a quota, or, I'm part of a gender quota, and that's a real thing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what challenges do you think that we face with attracting female programmers?
Many challenges.
Many, yes.
I mean, one challenge for all companies is the lack of developers in general. No matter the gender, there is a shortage of developers. And also, just if you look at Sweden, of all the developers, around 6% of them are female. So of course it's going to be tough to recruit women because there aren't that many. So I think we need to tackle the problem from many different angles. Like, we need to actually get more women interested in programming in the first place. And
does that start in education then, do you think?
I think there's many different things. I believe that one part of the reason why there's so few women is that many women don't identify with the stereotype of a developer.
Yeah.
So I think by changing the stereotype, we can get many more people interested in programming.
And we had an interesting thing that came up during your talk, actually. It was around the geographical differences with gender diversity. And one was around India, wasn't it? You've been to India and I've been there as well. And they have actually quite a large, I don't know about the figures, but a large proportion. And someone stood up and said, that's because it is seen as a stable role. And that's, from what you said before, is completely different, isn't it? I mean, do you find that anywhere else? You know, have you seen that in any other country, or do you think that's India specific?
Probably it is similar somewhere else, but I mean, I have this experience as well from, all the years I've been working with development. It's in India I've had the most female colleagues, and they were all great. I really enjoyed working with them. And I did actually ask someone in India about it, and they said the same thing as the woman said today during the presentation, that we just go wherever the jobs are, and there's a lot of job in engineering, so we all become like software engineers.
Yeah, she said doctors and programmers, they were the ones, weren't they? Yeah. And you've done a lot of travelling in your time. I mean, you mentioned Australia and India. Are you seeing differences? We've spoken about India, but I mean, I'll change the question slightly. Apologies. As far we said 6% in Sweden. Is your feeling that's the same? You know, is that a majority, or if we were to say percentage overall across the globe, would it be around that event? Is your feeling? I'm not asking you to, come up with a hard and fast fact. But...
Yeah, now I don't really remember the numbers, but I do think that it's a bit lower in Sweden than the overall, even
really?
if the ratio is a bit skewed everywhere. But 6% is very low.
Yeah. That it is low, and it does need to change. And one of the questions that came up was, do you think quotas are a good idea? And there's two different sides to that, isn't there? One is that feeling, well, I'm just part of a quota, but the other feeling is we do have to change mindsets, don't we? And another thing I think you mentioned was around the it gets to a certain percentage, and then it's kind of self-evolving when it gets to a certain amount, doesn't it? And sometimes the only way you're going to do that maybe is by having a quota involved. Yeah. And
also, if you are the only woman in the team, maybe you feel like the odd one out so much that you end up leaving and you go to a place where there is already a better balance.
Yeah, it's true. It's an incredible subject. I mean, and as I said, one of the things I'm doing is around unconscious bias. Now, do you feel, is there anything that you yourself personally have found out, that an unconscious bias that you've had?
Of course. I mean, even if I'm very passionate about this topic and I visit companies and I talk about these issues, I have the same bias. For example, when we were at a previous job, we were getting in an expert, and I was like, when does he start?
Yeah.
And I just caught myself right after saying it, like, oh my God, what did I just say? And it's because I'm so used to the software engineering experts are always men. And it was a man, but I got disappointed in myself for streaming that.
And it is always work in progress, I think, with any of these. I don't think you're ever going to come to a point where you say, right, we don't need to worry about gender bias or any kind of bias anymore. It's always a work in progress, isn't it? So for 2020 then, what's your big milestones for 2020? What are you hoping to achieve?
Personally?
Yes, yeah.
That's a very good question. Actually, I'm very interested in astrology, and 2020 is the year of change.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. So one big change for me is that I've been involved with Pink Programming for 4.5 years, but I've decided to actually leave the board and let some new influence come in. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see where they will take the organization. But this also means that I get to focus more on my normal job, which is this unbiased interview robot.
Yeah. Yes. So if anyone wants to find out a bit more about that and about you and about the Pink Programming Initiative, where would they go to get more information?
So about Tengai, they would go to tengaiunbiased.com to read more about our robot. And Pink Programming is only in Sweden at the moment, so that's pinkprogramming.se.
Right, that's fine. Okay, and there's are there any sort of, I mean, because that's, you say, only in Sweden, but what about, are there any global influences around this movement?
There's actually a lot of initiatives similar to pink programming around the world, and this is what I realized when I started to work with this. So women in tech, and
just get out there and don't be afraid about doing it. And I think that's the most important thing, is it? And also be aware of you, how you are inside as well. I think it's incredibly important. Well, Vanja, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. It was great listening to you, and that's being filmed, so you will be able to see that at Click. So we'll put that together and make that available for you. Thank you so much, and good luck with the robots.
Yeah,
well, that's
thanks.
Fascinating. Thank you.